And the government makes all these promises about, them being a climate leader and that they're trying to take action on the climate crisis. Well, the science is really clear on that. If you were a leader on the climate crisis, you would not be investing in any new fossil fuel infrastructure. And yet, what did this government do last week? It announced new plans for oil and gas licenses in the North Sea that will be running for decades. It's complete insanity.
We only have a few years left to save the Earth. And we only have a few years left to do what is right for our future and for the future of our children. Plastic consumption, littering of wastes, too much consumption of electricity, and burning fossil fuels are the best examples of how we are damaging the Earth. Are there still any actions that we could possibly do to save the Earth? The oxygen cycle, along with the carbon cycle and nitrogen cycle, plays an essential role in the existence of life on the Earth. The oxygen cycle is a biological process which helps in maintaining the oxygen level by moving through three main spheres of the Earth, which are the atmosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. This biogeochemical cycle explains the movement of oxygen gas within the atmosphere, the ecosystem, biosphere, and the lithosphere. The oxygen cycle is interconnected with the carbon cycle. The atmosphere is the layer of gases present above Earth's surface. The sum of Earth's ecosystem makes a biosphere. Lithosphere is the solid outer section along with the Earth's crust, and it is the largest reservoir of oxygen. And there are three stages of the oxygen cycle. Stage 1 is that all green plants during the process of photosynthesis release oxygen back into the atmosphere as a byproduct. Stage 2 is that all aerobic organisms use free oxygens for respiration. Stage 3 is that animals exhale carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, which is again used by the plants during photosynthesis. Now oxygen is balanced within the atmosphere.
Any species that is not native or to a particular location is referred to an invasive species. These species prefer to invade an environment either purposely or unintentionally posing a threat or causing harm. They can quickly develop and multiply, wreaking havoc on a region's animal balance. A diverse variety of species is necessary for an ecosystem since it broadens the food web or food supplies and reduces the risk of extinction for native species. On the other hand, invasive species have significant impact of ecosystem by altering the food web, by preying on predators or increasing the reproduction of prey. They also compete with native species for food and can carry novel illness passed to the other organism, resulting in extinction. Even though invasive species have caused numerous difficulties in our biodiversity and ecology, there are still multiple potential solutions to this problem. The most effective strategy to combat them is closely monitoring and protecting human transportation to guarantee that no potentially invasive species are transported. We're all aware that humans are the leading sources of species invasion. Because of our numerous ways of movement, non-native animals have been introduced to new locations without our knowledge. Now that we're aware of the consequences of our action, it's up to us to help prevent future incidents, become effective advocates for effective action, and raise awareness about invasive species. After all, they're here because of us.
Epigenetics. The term epigenetics was introduced in 1942 by embryologist Conrad Wellington, who relating it to the 17th century concept of epigenesis, defined it as the complex of developmental processes between genotype and phenotype. What is epigenetics? Your genes play an important role in your health, but so do your behaviors and environment, such as what you eat and how physically active you are. Epigenetics is the study of how your behaviors and environmental can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Unlike genetic changes, Epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequence, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. How does epigenetics work? Epigenetic changes affect gene expression in different ways. Types of epigenetic changes may include DNA methylation, histone modification, and non-coding RNA.
Human impacts are strong selective force acting on native island biodiversity. Human altered species interactions by introducing species and altering habitats by removing native vegetation, building structures, and transforming landscapes. This effect is what we call anthropogenic effect. Anthropogenic effects are effects of human activities towards the ecosystem or the natural world. Before we discuss these effects, let's first elucidate how ecosystem is important to the lives of human and non-human species. Ecosystem provides different services for free. This is what we call ecosystem services. It is important that we should keep the ecosystem intact because it provides us support services that create and replenish the foundation of the Earth's biological system. Moreover, it also has provisioning services by giving us raw materials that we need in order to live. Furthermore, it also has regulating services as it moderates the Earth's systems that can get dangerous. Example of these are decomposition and filtering air and water, which in turn regulate the climate. However, in order for the ecosystem to perform these services, we should keep its biodiversity intact because species as well as ecosystems are interrelated and interdependent. Human impact on any one species or ecosystem may influence others as well, much like a chain reaction often referred to as a cascade effect. The reason that the biodiversity is important because it makes ecosystem more resilient to disturbances. If you take at least one species out of the ecosystem will most likely to collapse.